Hey guys, Pton here. Today I'm back to do a deck profile for you guys. As you can tell from the title, it's going to be for Roxy's Murakumo deck. Yep, ZANBAKU Mandala hybrid. So let's begin. First start off with 4 copies of the main grade 3 in the deck, Dueling Dragon ZANBAKU. So let me just... Okay. So, ZANBAKU skill, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. Search the deck for up to 1 Arrestor, call it to Regard, shuffle your deck. And this unit gets 5000 power. If both right Arrestor and left Arrestor are on the Regard circle, your opponent cannot write a grade 3 or greater during our right phase. So essentially, this prevents your opponents from acquiring gifts, which is especially good against Protect, because Protect is the greatest incentive among the 3 gifts to rewrite, and it's also a great counter against decks that need rewriting, like not necessarily Protect. Protect will mostly fall into this category. For example, Imperial Daughter from Oracle Think Tank, you need to rewrite to get a skill. Metatron also from Angel Feather, another Protect clan. But it's also good against things like Kagura, which is Dragon Waterfall from Kagura, because Kagura doesn't really have any soul charge cards aside from Crow Dragon. So for Waterfall's skill to be active, you need another grade 3 in a soul, and the only way that Kagura can do that is to rewrite. However, do take note that his skill only affects writing during the right phase, not completely. So things like Dimension Police, Great Daisha, Superior Right can still work. Azul's Superior Right can still work. Zerakiel's Superior Right can still work. So it may not affect them as much, but nonetheless it's a really scary skill. The backup grade 3 is Covert, Demonic Dragon, Mandala Lord. So skill is when placed. Alright, I'm back. When placed, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, choose 2 of your units and clone them from your deck. Essentially a sweep pass to the field, enables some early rush if you're going first, and you write him before ZANBAKU. It helps to thin the deck, and it leaves more triggers in the deck for you to drive check. And it's a really good first and final right target. It also has a second skill which is activated. Once per turn, put a card from the hand into your soul. All of your Mandala Lords get 3000 power. Pretty helpful. Can help to fix certain magic columns, as we have learned from Maelstrom skill and Golden Beast Tamer skill. Can make magic 27k in columns and even 28k with a certain grade 1 in the deck. Now, yeah, only 3 copies because this deck's main card is still ZANBAKU. We're still leaning more towards ZANBAKU. 3 Musashis. This is the final grade 3, the one that you don't want to write because it's a really good rearguard. So skill is Vanguard rearguard when he attacks. As long as you have more rearguards than your opponent, this unit gets 5000 power and a Battle Doll fighter skill. So essentially it's a costless Battle Doll fighter, because honestly for SL clans, usually you have more rearguards than your opponent, and especially in the XL clan that superior calls like Murakumo, right? His condition is really easy to meet. So he's essentially a free Battle Doll fighter. Yeah, hits for 70 on his own, which is pretty hard to guard with 2 cards. As you can see, you have to guard with 2 cards. If not, you can have him be boosted and hit for relatively high power. He also works on Vanguard Rega as well, and also as a gift. So even if you have to write into him because you can't draw the other grade 3s, it wouldn't hurt as much. So yeah, there we go. 3 Musashis. Next up, Left Arrestors. Here. So 4 copies of Left Arrestors. Important piece in the ZANBAKU right lock combo. Skill is when he attacks the Vanguard, if you have another rearguard of Arrestor, you can Soul Blast 1 and it gets 5000. Yeah, easy 14k hitter, attacker. Can hit 14k unboosted, pretty good. and it doesn't require another right arrestor, so even if 2 on this field, his skill will still be active. And then 3 right arresters. So when placed, if your Vanguard is ZANBAKU and you have another arrestor on your field, you can counterblast 2, put a card from your hand into your soul, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and paralyze it. Cannot stand, basically. I used to turn paralyzed because during the G format it was Machinings who was doing most of the Vanguard stunning, Vanguard paralyzing shenanigans. But now it's Murakumo. Okay, so right arrestor is basically the final piece in the ZANBAKU, in the full ZANBAKU right lock and lockdown combo. It's a very costly skill, as you can see. It's combust 2 with 1 into the soul, but if timed well, and especially if you use it with ZANBAKU's effect, can be really devastating for your opponent and will definitely put you way ahead in the game, right? And this is especially so in standard, where hand size and card advantage are at most important. So by denying your opponents the ability to attack with the Vanguard and drive checks, you basically decrease the hand size, especially since you're also playing Excel clan, so you have a lot of attacks for your opponents to deal with. You decrease your opponent's hand size and prevent them, from pulling triggers and turning the tables on you. Yeah, so it's pretty scary. And it's really good against Vanguard focus decks, for example, Dimension Police, where they just pump everything into the Vanguard and hit for a really high crit. But this time, since their Vanguards cannot stand, their decks become, a little less scarier. It also makes Phantom Blaster Dragon players think twice about using PvD skills, because they'll be minusing more than you are minusing, essentially, if they want to use the skill, since they lose on a drive check and they lose out on the 15k plus 1 crit kind of pressurizing effect. Yeah, and it's not just that. Right arrestor skill also stops certain when Vanguard attack skills, like Golden Beast Tamer skill, which requires it to attack for it to be active, Azul's skill, and even General Save Rate from Spy Brothers. Right, the on-hit skill is gone. So, pretty scary. And you can actually choose to use the skill instead of ZANBAKU skill if you know your opponent wouldn't be able to top deck into a grade 3, and are certain they won't top deck into 1. Oh wait, but yeah. And similarly, you can also use ZANBAKU skill on its own without using this guy's skill. It doesn't mean that you have to use this guy's skill. If you use ZANBAKU skill, you can always just use ZANBAKU skill, pull this out. I mean, call this guy out first. Use ZANBAKU skill to pull this out. Prevent your opponent from riding, but don't use his skill. Especially when you want to conserve your conserve your counterblast, because a lot of people against Murakumo, they just swing for the rear guards. They try to damage deny you so that you don't get off the full combo. So usually, what Roxy does is she will just use the skill to prevent the opponent from riding. Because preventing riding can essentially prevent gifts, which is arguably more important than preventing your opponents from standing their Vanguards. It really depends on the matchup, honestly. So you gotta know how to play against certain decks when you're using Murakumo. But there we have right arrestor, really scary card, especially when timed correctly. Following that, we have 3 Magai Mandala. So what's Magai Mandala skill? As its name suggests, it has something to do with our Mandala Lord there. So basically, Magai Mandala acts as Mandala Lord. It's basically regarded as Mandala Lord on your regular circle and when it's in the deck. Which means that if you want to clone Mandala Lord with his effect, you can actually call this guy out instead of him. Why would you call this guy out? Because he has 5k, it's a 5k interceptor, and he also has a second continuous effect, which is if you have 3 or more Mandala Lords on a Vanguard or Vanguard, he gets the ability to boost, and that's pretty good, right? 9k booster gives you additional options. It's always good. Yeah. So there we go. So essentially, we essentially play 6 copies of Mandala with this guy. Yep, and then 2 copies of Swift Archer Fushimi. Skill, when placed, choose one of the units and it gets the ability to attack the barrel. This allows you to clear out annoying grade 1s that you normally can't get rid of, since you know Murakumo in standard doesn't have any cards that retire your opponent's rear guards. So some important targets could be like Scarwitch 11 from Shadow Paladins, and I'm giving a lot of Shadow Paladin examples because Shadow Paladin is one deck that can really destroy. They can really. It's one of Murakumo's worst matchups, I would say. Yep. So yeah, this guy can attack Scarwitch 11, prevent your opponent from, free plusing every turn. Can also retire. I mean, you can also target. You can also attack Aramo, things like Aramo. Attack things like Sonic Nova from Tachikaze. That card is also really an annoying booster. So yeah. And additionally, he also has another skill, a continual skill, which is as long as you have 4 or more rear guards during your turn, Fushimi gets 5,000 power, so it attacks for 14. And honestly, it's not that difficult to get 4 more rear guards, especially if you write into Mandala lot first. You already have 2 rear guards. Combined with Fushimi, that's 3. All you have to do is call on 1 more from the hand, and it's not that difficult to do that. So this guy you hit for 14 and 24 on the Excel circle. Really decent. But we only have space to play 2 of him in the deck. Okay. Let's move on to grade 1s. Play 3 Stealth Beast Million Red. So Million Red are self-clones for 1 counterblast as long as if you do not have another copy of himself on the field. Yeah, and the cloned Million Red gets minus 4,000 power. It's not too bad though, especially if you put the 4,000 power Million Red behind Fushimi. You'll still be able to hit 18k, which is 4th numbers, pretty decent. And he also has a decent 8k base, unlike the other grade 1s that I'll be showing you in a moment. Murakumo actually has quite a number of 7k grade 1s, so him having 8k is pretty decent. Yep. Let me just clear up things first, it's getting a bit messy here. There we go, 3 Million Reds. Next up, we have 4 copies of Stealth Rogue of Silence, Shijimamaru. 7k base, skill is when it boosts, 2 of the units with the same card name as the boosted unit gets 3,000 power. So essentially a solid 10k booster, but it's more than just that. See, it doesn't necessarily have to give the boosted unit the 3,000 power, so you can. So let's say you have like 3 of the same, 3 copies of the same card on the field. For example, Mandala Lord. Yeah, Mandala Lord and Magai Mandala is counted as the same card. So let's say you have 3 Mandala Lords on the field. This guy boosts one of the Mandala Lords here. You can choose not to give the 3k here. You can choose to give it to the other 2 Mandala Lords present on the field if you want to hit like numbers. Right. That is pretty good at hitting magic numbers and helping to fix columns. And also his skill is active even if you do not have 2 units on the field with the same card name as the boosted unit. Right. In Vanguard, you just do as much as the skill as you can, so essentially you just give the boosted unit 3k, which is pretty decent on its own already. Right. He becomes a 10k booster. Yep. So you definitely have to try him out for yourself. Yeah. Really nice card. The next card is also a pretty nice card, especially in this deck. So Stealth Dragon Amatsu Snipe. Skill is Vanguard Regard. Continuous. If a Regard was placed on the deck this turn, this card gets 5,000 power. So it caps at 12,000. But the good thing about him is that he doesn't have to be on the field when you superior call a card from the deck. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you go into Mandala Lord, or even ZANBAKU. Let's say ZANBAKU. Okay, ZANBAKU. Okay, Mandala Lord is a better example. We'll just use Mandala Lord. So you're on a grade 2 turn. I mean, you're on a first grade 3 turn. So you previously wrote Fushimi. So now you write into Mandala. Use his skill, counterblast 1, soul blast 1, clone itself, and maybe one of our other rear guards if you do have another rear guard. then what you can do is you just clone them, and then from your hand you call down Amatsu Snipe. Because a right face, Mandala's skill is a right face skill. It's a one-play skill, so you have to use it immediately as it enters the field. So you can't wait until you call this guy down. But don't worry, because this guy's skill can activate even if he's not already on the field. So with that example, you wrote into Mandala Lord, you clone another Mandala Lord, then you call down Amatsu Snipe. He still hits for 12,000. He still boosts for 12,000. Yep, because it says this turn. Yeah. So it's pretty decent. Pretty decent, especially against Protect and Force. Right, it's a 12k. You can attack on his own. On the Excel Circle, he hits for 22. Pretty scary. And that's about it for the great ones. Only 11 great ones. The bulk of the deck are attackers, because as I've mentioned, we are an Excel clan. We want to be able to call out attackers every single turn to fill up the Excel circles, of course. And with the normal units out of the way, we can move on to the triggers. This deck plays 3 crits, 5 draws, and 4 fronts, and 4 heals. Yep. 1 Zamba Rider, 2 Moon Edge. Doesn't matter. For the draws, 4 of the Sentinel, the Nullifier, Perfect Guard, because you have to play them. And we do play 1 additional draw trigger, Cat Rogue. Help in hand size a bit, right? And also good target to put into soul for Mandala or even Right Arrestor skill. And in 4 fronts, we play 1 more front than crits, because Roxy loves fronts, and fronts can be used defensively and offensively. If you damage check a front, you essentially protect the entire front row. If you drive check a front, you essentially give everything a trigger buff, which can be really scary and decide the outcome of the game easily. Yep. And of course, 4 heals mandatory, especially with that 20k defense, really valuable in the deck. And that essentially rounds up the deck profile. It's a very fast deck profile. This deck profile was pretty delayed, right? Pretty overdue deck profile. I wanted to do this deck profile quite some time ago, but didn't really have the time. But now that it's the holidays, yep, managed to do deck profile. And the starter is Cat Devil. Yep. This deck has been winning quite a lot. Roxy has been using and against me, and I've been losing to it quite a bit. Yeah, I'm still learning how to play around the deck. Yeah, it will require some practice, but yeah, this deck, if you're thinking of picking it up, it's actually really good and it's really cheap as well. That's probably one of the cheapest decks that we've ever built. Right. And it's also very effective in shutting down a lot of decks with ZANBAKU skill. So I'm not going to explain too much into the combos, but these are just the Excel circles that Roxy plays. Quite a bit of Excel circles, because she rewrites a lot in this deck, especially with the Mandala. And alright, I had to cut there, sorry. But anyways, that comes to the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile for this Murakumo deck of Roxy's that I'm helping to do. Thank you guys for watching, and you can watch many of the match videos that Roxy uses with this deck on my channel. Yeah, I do have like a couple of matches. It's going to be up in a few days after I upload this deck profile, and I hope you guys enjoy this deck profile once again. Bye guys, thank you.